It's called the Creamer Plus, and it's made by Sonicfarm, and maybe you're asking yourself, why should I care about another preamp? If you're a creative person and you're putting yourself out there and putting content out, I've got nothing but respect for you, and that's why I want to show you this, because if you're trying to up your game, you might be considering spending some money on something like this. And so I just want to give you an overview of what this does and show you how it works, so you can go into it kind of having a clue why you might spend that kind of money. So I'm going to break this into two parts. Quick start guide. If you have no interest in technical stuff, I'm just going to give you a really quick run through of how you would set it up to record, say, a vocal and a guitar. The second part, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. I'm going to show you what all the switches do, and I'll run a couple of small audio examples so you can sort of hear what it sounds like. Let's take a real quick blast of the quick start. So how would you get going? So obviously there are some inputs on the back of this thing. You would choose microphone 1 for this side, microphone 2 for that side. 48 volts has got to be on if you have a condenser microphone. If you don't have a condenser mic, you're in good shape. Move along, don't worry about this stuff, make sure line is out, and then you just make sure that this comes up until I got a DAW recording stuff behind me. I'm just going to glance over and have a look at the level, and this attenuation needs to be on 0 most likely. So that's all you got to do, is turn this knob up until you're getting a level that's hitting your DAW at about -10 to -6. That's your quick start guide. Done. How easy is that? Sonicfarm is a small company in Vancouver. It's just two guys, Boris and Zoran. They make these units right here, handmade. Everybody was talking about this preamp, and to be honest with you, my reaction was, well, I have a couple of BAE 1073s, another preamp. I don't know, do I really need that? I met Boris, really interesting guy, passion for audio. This isn't really an unbiased review. This is, I have some valuable insight because I'm friends with Boris, he shows me what they're working on, and I really understand the passion behind what they're making. Alright, now let's do the in-depth in terms of signal flow. So from left to right, you got a microphone in, that's on the back of this thing. You don't need to see it, you know what that looks like. 48 volts, come on. Pad. I know you know what that is, but let's just be thorough. Pad, you hit that if you got a really loud signal and it's blowing up the preamp, that'll turn it down. Conversely, 6 dB. That'll turn the input signal up by 6 dB just in case you got something that's super quiet. Next in line, you got your line instrument switch. So this just selects between the microphone input and the line input. If you do plug something into the front of the unit here, like an instrument guitar, that's just going to switch you over. It switches automatically. Plug a 1/4 inch into that. Done. Basically a DI. Gain up switch. Whether or not you're using a mic or a line input, this will give you more gain. How much, I'm not exactly sure. I just hit it if I need more. So gain up, you hit that, you're going to get more signal, and then you're going to go, there's a little red line there. After that, you're actually going into the tube. So all the stuff that you're doing before this affects the level that's going into the tube. So this is the way that you affect color. That's how you tailor the sound to utilize the tube. This button here selects between triode and pentode. So with this unit here, the first thing you see is always the up position. Hit that down. That puts you into pentode mode. It's a little bit hotter actually. It's about 2 lines on the interface here, so you'll have to move that if you want to compare the same level. So now you've gone through the tube, you've got the sound adjusted to your liking, then you're going to go to the fat and the air. And all those are is little tiny shelves. So fat, low end, little bit of boost. I can't remember the frequencies. I think it might be 80 and 200. They're adjustable, but normally the way these come delivered is I think a dB.5. So you move that over to the left, you get some real bottom end, and then that's a higher shelf. Same thing with the air. I can't remember the frequencies, but I just try it. That just kind of opens up the top end a little bit, see which one you like. I actually like the approach to not having a bunch of numbers on this, because I find that I'm really just using my ears as opposed to going like, let's see what some 12K sounds like or some 10K. I just flip the switch, I like that, I don't like that. It creates a more musical, organic experience, at least for me. The signal lamp comes after that, and it gives you a good indication as to how hot the unit's running. I found that I can run it into red. In fact, Boris has come in and seen me running it to red and saying, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I like the way it sounds." So you know, After that, you get to this high pass filter. You can knock off a little bit of low end. It's good for taking out a little bit of thump. And then the attenuator is an attenuator on output. And the reason why they put that there is because if you're going in line and the whole unit is running pretty hot, you're always going to have this thing way near the bottom, and then it's hard to adjust the output level. So you can put it on -6 or -12 attenuation, and then you got better adjustment up in this area to get the right output level that you want. For microphones, most of the time it's on 0. Here's my favorite button. I told Boris that he could probably make me one of these without this button on it. So it's solid state, think SSL kind of idea. So it's not a copy of an SSL, but it vibes to me like that. It's kind of a cleaner thing. And then output transformer. You know, output transformer kind of rounds the edge off the transient a little bit, makes it a bit more punchy instead of sharp. I tend to prefer most things in output transformer, but that's just me. That doesn't mean I never use solid state, but it's a great option. So yes, it's not designed to be a copy of an SSL or an Eve. It's neither of those things. I just say that because it gives you some concept as to how it affects the sound. It'll kind of maybe hit you that way. So that's my rundown of how those switches work. It works in a way that's a little bit unusual compared to your typical preamp where you have an input knob and an output knob. So knowing how to drive signal into the tube in a way that you like and start to tailor your sound like that, it starts to be a really, really cool way to squeeze more out of what this will do and really get some more magical sounds out of it. Let's have a quick listen to some content. So the first thing I'm going to play you is a couple of audio examples. This is from The Living's 2 Trips Around the Sun. I did YouTube about the making and the recording of this. I'll throw a link up in case you want to check that out. So let's play this guitar for you. This is set up online, so it's already been recorded, and I'm going to go between triode and pentode. So Pentode is hotter and it's about 2 lines different, so that's why I'm moving that in between the takes. As I recall, Boris told me that there was a way to automate that so that you didn't have to change that level. I think it would have made the unit much more expensive. It's a third the price of, say, a 1073. I think it's really a good value. Let's try something else. Oh, and I almost forgot impedance. Now I might be a little out of order on signal flow here, but it's sort of at this juncture that I might experiment with this a bit. Think of it as like a vibe switch. The vibe, the tonality will change a little bit, and well, someone at Sonicfarm told me that high impedance was Mr. Neve's little trick. This is a tube. And when the world was black and white, this is what they used. When the world changed away from this old technology to solid state, what they discovered was something sort of went missing. What the Creamer is trying to do is combine old and new. So it's its own modern take, but with this inside of it, it does something that's a little bit special. If you're a guitar player, you know all about this. Easy. Okay, let's run a vocal through here. Already processed, but without the Creamer.
2 trips around the sun. It took 2 trips around the sun.
Now I'm going to insert this into the signal flow.
2 trips around the sun. It took 2 trips around the sun. Around the sun, it took 2 trips around the sun. You don't have to tell me that this love is gone.
Now I'm going to do a whole series on the Sonicfarm gear. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you learned anything, and if you've got questions or some input about what I talked about today, it would be awesome if you'd put something in the comments. Let's get a discussion going about it. People are discovering this stuff. In fact, Greg Welch was playing with something called the Excalibur, which is a saturation version, and he was posting on Instagram, and now that stuff is available on YouTube. I'm going to show you what Greg Welch was doing with the Excalibur. I'll play with the knobs, and what I love about this gear is you can just turn knobs and get creative, especially the Excalibur. So that's what I'm going to do next time.